Welcome to Solving Politics, the only show on politics that provides answers to today's political problems and pathways to make them happen. If right-wing politics was run by competent people, they would be in the media's face saying, "I thought Trump was going to be impeached according to you leftist hacks. I thought Trump was on his way to jail." The American media, America's most corrupt big business, embarrass the hell out of the media, tell the sorry excuse for Republican infrastructure to articulate. It does not cause physical duress. The media plagiarizes each other's work. It demands transparency from everyone but has none itself. It thinks of its customers as stupid and itself as brilliant and puts out whatever it wants for its own amusement because the media is America's most corrupt big business. Have your words slam home like a dagger. Instead, right-wing pundits and commentators and politicians are so brain-dead, they build up the media by calling the media mainstream. There's nothing mainstream about the media. They are the left's witch with a capital B. No wonder why Thomas Sowell said there's no such thing as an articulate Republican. Who lets right-wing commentators and politicians out of their cage? Here are 3 things you can do to be articulate, since the show is called Solving Politics. Your message should fit on a bumper sticker. A second grader should be able to understand what you just said, and your message should not make me feel like I'm in the 2nd grade. Unfortunately, Bush lied and tax cuts for millionaires and billionaires are the benchmark for this. Then you stay on message and feed all other topics and discussions right into it. I don't play with my speech, and I suggest you don't either. Here's what I would say to the media. You are America's most corrupt big business. All you do is parrot the Democratic Party and left on every discussion, topic, and issue. Global warming is always presented as man-made and a fact. Green issues, always presented as really good. National health care, desperately needed. Police shooting, cop guilty. Donald Trump equals negative coverage. Iraq war coverage, 10 years of body counts. Because you're America's most corrupt big business. Now, media, name one topic or issue where you parrot the Republican Party on. Nothing! Notice I draw the conclusion for you in a way a 2nd grader can't screw up. In a country where 2 out of 3 adults can't even name the 3 branches of government. If you're still having trouble, I recommend watching a YouTuber like Pat Condell. He articulates very, very well. It's okay to shame the media. It's okay to embarrass them, because honestly, right now, conservative commentators and politicians are not even laying a finger on them. Next, why have we not had class action litigation against the media for election manipulation? 93% negative coverage of Donald Trump by the media? I think North Korea does a better job with journalism. But hey, at least North Korea has standards. You could easily show how many seats in Congress in close elections it has cost Republicans with 93% negative coverage. Do projections what election results would look like if the coverage had been 50-50. In other words, something called journalism. Let alone what election results would look like if there had been 93% positive coverage of Trump. It is time for class action litigation against the media. Freedom of the press is not freedom to indoctrinate in left-wing politics. By the way, 93% negative coverage of Trump by the media is the real media Democratic Party collusion and voter suppression. It is so bad that a huge percentage of our population listens to our left-wing activist press, thinking they're informed, when the truth is they are doing nothing other than living their lives inside the Matrix. Keanu Reeves not required. Maybe lawsuits would be dismissed, but I guarantee you the media would think twice after that. Then you keep the pressure on indefinitely. Remember, every left-winger wants to be an activist, aka a worker bee. Every right-winger wants to be the next Rush Limbaugh. This was said by a higher-up at the Republican Party. It is the truest statement ever, and sums up all your problems in one sentence. All Republican politicians and commentators do is whine from the sidelines. The Republican infrastructure is like whiny announcers at a bad ball game. Even when the Republicans had all 3 branches of government from January of 2017 to January of 2019, Republican commentators and politicians still spent 99% of their time whining about what someone on the left said that day. Certifiably pathetic. This is the true cause of right-wing and Republican problems. Could you imagine a business doing that? A person, a sports team? They'd be out of business in 5 minutes. Time for some competence from the Republican powers that be on the right. So here is how to do it with the media. Do surveys of people who get their news from our left-wing activist press and find out they don't even have a clue what goes on in the world. Ask them multiple choice questions like, question number 1, global warming is A, man-made in a fact, B, is agreed upon by all scientists regardless of whether they receive grant money, C, has had almost nothing come true from alarmist movies and predictions, D, has occurred and banks are no longer giving mortgages in Florida because it will be underwater soon. The answer, of course, is C. Question number 2, taxes. A, the top 1% of earners pay 1% of the income taxes. B, the top 1% of earners pay no income taxes. C, the top 1% of earners pay 33% of the income taxes. D, the rich have never paid their fair share. The answer, of course, is C. Question number 3. Let's go international here. Palestinians are A, from Judea with roots going back before the original state of Israel to 4000 BC. B, are from the Quran and Old Testament and are the ancient home of the Palestinians. Or I should say their ancient home is Palestine. C, are an open and free society where Jews, Christians, and Muslims vote for their leaders. D, were invented by Yasser Arafat in the 60s in conjunction with the KGB and are the real Russian collusion story. The answer, of course, is D. Next question. Journalism. A, requires licensing and rigorous standards that must be adhered to. B, almost anyone can call themselves a journalist and there is little to no accountability. C, journalists are mostly right-wingers from heavily conservative journalism schools. D, has governmental oversight to ensure the highest standards and ethics are always enforced. The answer, of course, is B. You can have a lot of fun making up these questions. Believe me, I did. Amazing what can happen when right-wing politics starts working as opposed to whining or wasting everyone's time with policies, statistics, and procedures that no one outside of a right-wing Republican event could care less about. Keep in mind, the answer should not always favor the Republicans either with the questions you make up. But when it is shown that the average viewer getting their news from our leftist press does not even know what's going on in the world, the results should be shoved in the media's face. Be firm, but respectful. Also, make the media answer these questions themselves as well. If they get them right, why are they just distributing leftist propaganda? If they get them wrong, why do they have a job? Here's what the finish line would look like, and it's very doable. Before the left-wing news anchor leaves the studio, the questions should be created and distributed to the public who gets their sorry excuse for information from our leftist press. So within a few minutes of the left-wing propaganda, people already are seeing how it is either wrong or just leftist propaganda. You don't have to do this very often before people lose all credibility in the so-called news sources that are misleading them or just trying to indoctrinate them in left-wing politics. Wow, amazing what can happen when right-wing politics works for a living versus what we have now. Wake up and whine. Wake up, see what someone on the left said or did today, and scream no all day long, or just make fun of them and call that politics. Or just backing up into their right-wing safe space and spewing statistics and policies and procedures. What a joke. Work, don't whine. If it were me again, I would get a generic contract and say to the media, you obviously have it in for Jews, Christians, and Hindus. Who do we have to talk to about getting the same preferential treatment you give the religion of peace? Is there a contract we need to sign? Then pull out a generic contract. Who makes these decisions? They just don't happen out of thin air. Take it to the next level. Doubt anyone in the media is used to someone standing up to them in this manner. Lastly, I want to end this on a really positive note. I want everyone to see the link I've provided to Reverend Jessie Lee Peterson, who did a great job handling the media along the lines of what I've just described. Forcefully, but respectfully. If everything was handled with the media like this, the vast majority of your problems with the media would probably evaporate. Next episode, we will be doing a show on beating the anti-Christian bigotry permanently. Well, thanks for listening to another episode of Solving Politics, the only show on politics anywhere with answers to today's political problems and pathways to make them happen.